Hey, hey, hey! So today we're going to be talking about a book review, and I don't know why I'm talking like this, but today, that's not my usual intro for book reviews. Anyway, we have a book review today, and it is on A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And firstly, I want to say that I give credit for me reading this book and hearing about this book to Allie Dawson, who I love. And if you guys don't know who Allie Dawson is, she does all kinds of makeup videos, and she does, you know, I don't know if she does book reviews, but she does some book content too. She does some gaming. She does a lot of different things. But I started following her when I was doing BoxyCharm, I think. And I just really like her personality. She's, you know, she seems really cool and really nice. And she raved about this book, actually the whole series. At least whatever the books that she had read. I don't know if she's read all of them, but she talked about how good they were. So, of course, I was like, maybe I should check that out. So let's go ahead and read a summary, and then we will talk about the book. When 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Feyre discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal, immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least, he's not a beast all the time. As she adapts to her new home, her feelings for the fairy, Tamlin, transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But something is not right in the fairy lands. An ancient wicked shadow is growing, and Feyre must find a way to stop it, or doom Tamlin and his world forever. Now, I'm going to say, first of all, that this review, me talking about this, should not contain any spoilers, because my husband is helping me film this, and it's kind of funny, because we got the book from the library, and then we started listening to it on Audible. We listen to a book every night before we go to bed, we go to sleep. So we try to find books to listen to, and this was one that I'd heard about, and I was like, you know what, I've heard really good things about it, so let's try listening to it. So we started listening to it, and then we had the book, so I went ahead and started reading it. We are not very far in listening to it, but I have finished the book, and he doesn't know what's going to happen, so this review will not contain any spoilers. I'm not going to talk about anything that's not in the summary, okay? Which it'd be kind of hard to talk about it without talking about spoilers, but I did post a very pretty thorough review over on my blog, which is, if you go to my website, beautifullyfearless.com, it should be linked on there, so you can go check that out if you want to know more about it and more like what I think. I do talk about it more in depth over there. I don't know, I shouldn't say it's thorough, but I talk about it more in depth. And I'm more specific about things that happen in the book, and I mention things, and that one does contain spoilers. Okay, so I am not usually one for fantasy novels. I love romance novels, but I'm not usually one for fantasy. Like you know, I'll do like vampires and like werewolves, but I'm kind of at my limit with that. I'm not a big fairy person. So I have to admit, when I read what the book was about, and it was about like fairies and stuff, and I'm like, you know, that seems kind of dumb. I mean, not dumb, but like, you know, not my thing. I'm not into it. So, it was interesting listening to it. If you listen to it on Audible, I have to say, I can't think of the girl's name that does the audio on Audible, who reads it for you, but she does an excellent job. I will also say that Feyre, her name is spelled F-E-Y-R-E, and when I was reading the description before I had heard it said, I thought it was fair. I thought it was pronounced fair, and I was like, that's kind of a stupid name. I'm so judgmental. But yeah, the pronunciations, like there's Tamlin's emissary / best friend, his name is Lucien, Lucien. It could be pronounced Lucian, because there was another book we were reading, and it was pronounced Lucian, I don't know. The way that she writes the names, like Feyre's, I want to say like her personal servant in the palace, her name is Alice, and she spells it Alis. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But I also think that's kind of cool, you know? As an author myself, like being able to create your own world and your own characters, and you have no rules. Like you can write whatever you want. Like this is your world. You make the rules. So I think Sarah J. Maas, I think she did an excellent job with this book. And I've only read this book out of the series. I know there's like 7 books so far. But this book is excellent. I have to agree with everybody else that I've heard review this. If you like romance novels, you will love this. It's not one of those, I want to say like a trashy romance novel, or there's not a whole lot of sex in it. And it's not like one of those cliche ones where like she's in high school and she's like the outcast girl and he's like captain of the football team, and you know, they against all odds they get together. No, it's not like that. She is 19. The world that they live in is very different. They don't have a government like what we do, or a dictatorship or a monarchy, whatever it is that your country might have. They don't have leadership like that. They have human lands and they have fairy lands. And it's like ruled by like the High Fae, I guess. Listening to it and reading it, I thought it was an interesting commentary on government and how they're isolated. You know, the humans live on, they have this wall in between them, right? So fairies live on one side and humans live on the other side. And both sides believe that the other side is the bad guy. Both of them fervently believe that. So they're raised, you know, like human children are raised to hate the fairies because their parents were told and teach them that the Fae used to enslave them and used to do all these things. And I don't know if that's true or not. In the book, I have to say it's, you know, it's mentioned a couple of times, but it doesn't take place in the past. There's no like flashbacks. So it's kind of like it's talked about, but you don't know what actually happened. And I think it's interesting how, because I even said to my husband while we were listening to it, I was like, you know, the fairies are being told to hate the humans. It's all the humans' fault. The humans are being told it's all the fairies' fault. And the humans are being told that, you know, it's the fairies' fault, reason that, you know, this wall is here and the reason that we can't do certain things and all this stuff. And it's like, what if the government is telling you this to paint the fairies as the bad guy? Or the government, or like the leadership, I don't even know, because there's no mention of leaders in the human lands. There's no mention of any kind of leaders. You know, a president, a king, queen, anything like that. There is mention of a king in the fairylands, but most of them are like high lords and, you know, I don't even know, because there's different courts, and I don't know if you would section that out into like states or if you would do that more into like countries. I don't know that, but it's very interesting, I think, on the commentary. You know, Feyre, through the whole book, she fights for her family and the people that she loves. She fights for them. She fights to make sure that they're okay. And she's definitely a fighter. I identified hardcore with that because I've always been somebody who's kind of bucked authority. I don't like being told what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do and what I have to do. And sometimes you have to do what you have to do, regardless of whether you want to do it or not. But you know, I feel like some people in the world, you know, people, I don't know how to say it without being like super offensive, but I feel like people with money don't know what it's like to be broke and poor. Most of them don't, you know, because they've never been that way. And some of them are making our laws for people like us, the average people who are barely living paycheck to paycheck. They don't know what it's like. You know, they're deciding how we should live without having any experience doing it. And you know, it's very, very off to me. There are other magical creatures in this book. There are a couple of them described. I thought the book was very incredibly well written. The characters are well developed. You know, Feyre her mother passed away when she was young, and she lives with her disabled father and her sisters, all of whom pretty much treat her like a waitress, like a servant, like the help. She's the one that goes out and hunts and makes sure that they have food. You know, like she hunts and she would kill like a deer, right? And so the deer meat they would go for food, but then she would skin it, and the pelt they would take to the market and sell for coins so then they can buy other things, right? It's you know, it's hard to imagine. It's very dystopian in that way in the beginning, and all the times when they're talking about her home life. You know, I think most of us can relate to that, you know, to being, I don't want to say like dirt poor, but I think most of us can relate to, at some point or another, we didn't have much money, and you get to a point where you have a little bit more money and a little bit more freedom, and it's pretty nice. And I will say that she, throughout the whole book, is very leery of people around her. She's very incredibly cautious. You know, she's very wary. Like, she doesn't trust easily. She doesn't love easily. And sometimes that costs her when she does realize that she loves somebody. It really costs her just to admit it to herself. And it's I don't know. I don't want to say it's like a statement piece, but it's a very interesting book. And I think normally I would say books like this are for like teenagers, or because this is definitely like a young adult book. No, not at all. Like, anybody can read this, any age. It's it's a very good book. Yes, it is fantasy. Yes, there is fairy and high fae, and there are, well, Tamlin is a fairy that shapeshifts, right? But not all the fairies are the same. So he does shapeshift, and let's see. I'm trying to say stuff without saying stuff. Like, not all the fairies have the same gifts or the same abilities, you know. They're very much like people in that way. You know, we all have our special things that we do very, very well, with or without training. So it's very much like the human world that we live in today. And I just, it's a very good book to read if you were like, you know what, this world sucks, which it does, and I just need an escape. I need a break. I need to, you know, lose myself in a fantasy novel or a romance novel, or just a novel into another world that, for just a little bit. The author did such a good job. Like, when she describes places, or she describes people, or she describes things, it's in such a way that you can picture it in your head, and I love that. It makes it so much easier to read or to listen to when you're able to picture it in your head, where they're at, or who is in front of them, or what type of creature it is, or what the creature looks like. You know, and I know sometimes that can be difficult as an author to write that in such a way that people understand without coming right out and saying, it looks like this, or it looks like that, it has this, it has that. So, very, very well written book. Highly, highly recommend. 5 out of 5. And I did rate it that on my blog too. 5 out of 5. I am going to start reading the second book in the series. I really don't know what else to say. It's very heavily, it's kind of a fantasy, horror, romance. I want to say like, almost like an action movie, because there's a lot of action, there's a lot of fighting, and there's a lot of things going on. But it's a very, very good book to read. It's not hard to follow at all. It's all from Feyre's point of view. So if you get a chance, please go check this book out. Read it. Let me know what you think. If you have read this book already, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to go follow me on Instagram if you want to go follow me on Instagram. Like this video if you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring that bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video, because you never know what kind of content is going to pop up over here on this channel. I thank y'all so much for watching. I love y'all very, very much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!